Yeah, we can begin. Urvi madam, you can begin. You can come on camera. Urvi madam, can you come on camera and begin?
Yeah, sure.
You are off camera now. Yeah, you can begin.
Good evening, everyone. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to the Global Symposium 2025, hosted by Global Alliance for Strategic Outsourcing and GCCs. Global Alliance for Strategic Outsourcing and GCCs is a distinguished initiative of the Global Council for the Promotion of International Trade, a dynamic platform dedicated to advancing the global outsourcing and global capability center GCC ecosystem. The alliance brings together industry leaders, service providers, and key stakeholders to foster collaboration, share best practices, and drive innovation. With the focus on optimizing business operations through outsourcing and enhancing the role of GCCs, it advocates for strategic excellence, digital transformation, and the integration of cutting edge technologies. The Global Symposium 2025 is a flagship event of GCPIT designed to foster meaningful dialogue and collaboration across industries. This platform provides a unique opportunity for thought leaders, innovators, policymakers, and industry experts to share insights and strategies shaping the future of business, technology, and sustainable development. Hi everyone, I'm Purvi Gupta and I'm honored to be your host for today's webinar. I'm a company secretary working presently at SimplyBiz Private Limited, Hyderabad. Today, we are thrilled to have an incredible lineup of speakers with us today. Mr. Pola Anand Naidu, who is Director of Clean Exit Consultancy Services Limited, a workplace ethics rating company, Tactical Cyber Range Simulations Private Limited, and ISAC, which will be talking to us about professional ethics at workplace for survival. Mr. Raghubabu Gunturu, founder and director of SimplyBiz Private Limited, who will be highlighting the innovative engagement models for establishing GCCs in India. And Mr. Satya Natarajan, versatile leader driving transformation, who will give us insights on the future of work and GCCs. But before we get started, a few housekeeping notes. Please keep your on mute during the session to avoid background noise. Feel free to type your questions in the chat box and we will address them during the Q&A session. This session is being recorded and we will share the recording and other resources afterwards. Without further ado, let's kick off today's session and welcome our first speaker, Mr. Satya Natarajan, who will speak on the future of work and GCCs. Satya is a dynamic leader with a passion for driving customer and business outcomes. He is renowned for building PTC's largest technical support system, which successfully addressed 85% of global customer issues and takes immense pride in fostering a team where 70% of members were first generation engineers and their families. Satya views recruitment not only as an HR activity, but as a nation building initiative. With over 25 years of hands on experience in product development and management, he has created impactful application and IoT products that have enabled digital transformation and contributed to reducing global warming. His extensive expertise spans pre sales, marketing, product development, customer success, and technical support, making him a versatile and invaluable asset to any organization. Over to you, Mr. Natarajan.
Uh, thanks a lot for that generous introduction, Purvi. And I'm delighted on the basis of invite from Santosh.
Sir, you are on
It's
off camera. Can you just come on camera?
actually I'm in the office, so I'm just kind of
Okay.
putting it off. So is that okay?
Yeah, proceed. No problem.
Okay, so just to continue, we just met with Santosh on this global platform, and I'm thrilled to kind of share my experiences, particularly related to what is now called as GCC, Global Capability Centers. It was used to be addressed in different vocabularies as an outsource, uh, work or process optimization. and so on and so forth. But today, in the context of today, it gives me immense pleasure to talk about my experience is because of a thought process that was ingrained 15 to 20 years ago, where we started, where we didn't have a vocabulary called Global Capability Center. I was fortunate to have gone through the journey of building a team and a GCC from scratch. Indeed, I still remember the first day when I went to my manager, who was in between uh, in India as well as in US, literally not knowing who is my real manager, and saying that I want to build something out of my experience, and it was a global captive center. I will define the vocabularies as we go through because for the generic audience, they might be able to find the nuances of what I'm speaking. So I went to my manager and said, like, hey, yeah, you hired me. It's just one person and me. Uh, it's a team. It's not a team beyond two people. So what do you expect me to do? The then manager said, like, if I can trust you, you can build the team to grow very, very fast, because two is still a team. And if somebody took 15 years to build, you will build it in 15 months. With that kind of a motivation, it has been a long journey, but there are so much things that we did learn through that. Just to give you a context, earlier, the companies, I'm talking about 20 years ago, people were mainly looking at India as a destination center because we had an upcoming talent pool in terms of the number of engineers. If I remember that correctly, approximately 4 lakh engineers used to be churned out. So people said, like, hey, let's get these guys at a less cost. So it was more cost arbitration or cost less operations for the multinational companies. So that is how it was perceived. Indeed, if I remember this correctly, when they had offshored within double quotes, they were saying that we need people who can speak good English. Technical is something that we will train you guys. While on the contrary, when we started the center, we knew pretty much what Indians can do, that they can learn anything in the world given an opportunity. So it was more of the hiring practice was locally that, hey, let's get the best technical guys to do the job. And while the counterparts in another country, basically it was America, they were saying, like, no, 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 we don't want technical people skills. We want communication skills as a top agenda. So that's where you see the nuances of how they perceive GCC versus what we try to perceive as GCC. It was just rooted in the things that at that point in time, people wanted to prove that India can do it, right? So they knew anything can be done if technical skills are there. But whereas the person who is outsourcing or building a capability center, he was looking at the comfort of to whom the audience we are going to give us support. So this is a CAD PLM pioneer company which had its roots in Boston, who wanted to kind of prepare their own capability center and operate them as their own arm. We have different models nowadays called COCO and stuff like that, but it was called then as a captive center, which means they would outsource their operations and a certain amount of business over here, but they would like to have it under their control. So for each and everything, we had to take permission of our global counterparts. So right from the initial days where what to hire for was a learning exercise. So I simply say this for anybody who is going through the journey of GCC, the first and foremost things that you need to remember is that history repeats, and it is better to learn from history than repeat it again. So if there is anything that you need to fine tune, look at what people have done in the past, and that will give you half of what were the problems which will be common in the future also, and that which had found a solution and you can solve it. That's my first thing is if people do not know history, they are bound to repeat it again. That's the chief experience that I have. So in this conversation of setting up people-based support center, which means this software, we call them as PLM or CAD softwares, it had about 27,000 customers worldwide. So these are accounts in the relevant context. So any product company that makes a 3D product, be it Raytheon, Boeing, NASA, or Titan, Audi, all those companies need a software to produce in a digital format before they actually do it in a production format. So these are the softwares that were sold to those companies. After having sold those things, they come to us for support. So the Global Capability Center was all about developing tools, processes which are unified globally, and the talent which can support to that level of expectations of the global challenges that they used to face. So that is the context. Product team is about PLM and CAD, and an American company, which is a East Coast company, trying to set up their global capability center here in India. That is the context. As I said initially, the way you hire, the thought process around what kind of people to hire and what are all the aspirations or jobs to be done by both the parties are quite complex. One party says like, hey, I need to establish, get confident, and then scale. While the party in India was more about, hey, we do and we do can do, but we just need opportunities. So all along we were kind of trying to say, hey, give me any calls, somehow ek jugaad karke, or we will do it, right? But Americans probably are like very methodological. They want to reassure themselves before they step in. So indeed, I remember the first set of calls were all L1 level support calls, which is trying to find out to which engineer this call should go, like a help desk sort of thing. And then installation related calls, because it's a product company. So you need people to help them with installation and then configuration and then support complex calls. Think about a Boeing, a huge assembly is going through a software product, something goes wrong. How do you support? Like it'll have like amazing lakhs and lakhs of parts loaded on a computer. For some of the performance related issues of that product to handle such a large volume of digital data, it used to even run for like 6 months. A call used to run for 6 months. So a call might be as simple as pointing to a knowledge base vis-a-vis trying to work a problem over a span of 6 months. That's the complexity of problem. Now, as Purvi introduced me, we had a lot of challenges in terms of acquisition of the talent, because at that point in time, engineers, be it mechanical engineers or computer science engineers or electromechanical engineers, communication engineers, for them, computers were the default place that they would like to go, and they would learn anything to come to do that. The nature of the product is that it is not just a CAD PLM product. It had something around 7 open source technologies built into it. You need to know networking. You need to know CAD as a mechanical engineer. You need to know the design intents, and you need to know how complex systems work right from operating system. So sourcing out a talent was impossible. Indeed, the kind of typical turnover ratio in terms of we call them as hiring funnel used to be like 1,000 to 1. Indeed, people used to give me awards for just scanning through so much of resume. We didn't have AI at that point in time. So literally you had to spend extra hours of time and scan through every resume because the resumes were like, I'm a computer science engineer. When we talk to them, they might know how to solve problem and get things done. But if you ask a variety of skill sets, they will falter on. So indeed, we had to scan through like 6,000 resumes to get few people. But at that end of that exercise, it was a journey which the parent company also felt invested. So they didn't want us to fail. So their dictates were very clear. Hey, it is a cost benefit center. Do or done. We need to get these people on board, which means there is a stake whenever we are saying global capability centers, particularly from the abroad companies coming and investing in India. Is that one thing I have seen is that they are not fly by night operators, particularly when it comes to GCCs. They have a stake. Every manager or VP across the board are invested in making it successful. So one thing that we need to understand is that it is not just we need to prove it together. If you talk about them versus us, then we have already lost the plot. Okay, so we needed somebody who can interface between both the world and then sail through the boats, right? So I talked about the aspirations and the needs between the two parties in setting up GCC, the primary purpose of cost advantage, and then how are the success metrics, how it is divided between the teams, are some of the learning experiences. Now, having gone through the journey, the future of work then, I'm talking about 15, 20 years ago, was like we need to have multi-skilled, generic skills, and over a period of time, step through the process of, fine-tuning and being verticalized in terms of the deep skills. When we went through the interviews, it so got diluted that we couldn't find an ideal match. I already told the ratio of 6,000 to 10, something like that, right? At one point in time, we knew that the people who are skilled on the up part of the funnel, who can do it all, were employed by the local companies and they are highly paid. Whereas the people who are cheaply available, I wouldn't use the word cheap, but inexpensive, they didn't have the right mix of skills. So you will go through this process then and now also. Why? Because at that point in time, it was basically all about Java, about coding skills, about networking skills. Okay. Somebody were to ask like, hey, now it is totally different. Why do you think this history will repeat? Is because though people have exposure to Python and all those things, which is the latest and greatest, we are talking about the new age skills, which are hardly like 5-6 years old, but you want to have a potential of person who has like 15 years experience. I mean, AI is very recent in terms of operationalization. So you can't find a guy with 15 years experience. So still the same thing repeats. But the problems will be constant, which means you will always have less than experienced guys for a particular job function. You need to work through this. How is because you need to have the perfect agreement between the parties. And the thing is that you need to step through the various levels of expertise as we go through, right? Second thing is that one of the chief challenges is happening is that then and now also is that when the GCCs start, there is a rush of people coming from other part of the world at the same time, which means when there is a dearth of challenge, because you take X company from America, Y company from Europe, everybody is trying to look at the same pie of engineering talent over here in India or in elsewhere place. So if X company goes, Y would also have a presence here because they are affected by this FOMO, fear of missing out, right? So what happens naturally because of that is that though there is a talent pool, which is a common pie, people try to have the bloodbath. Means somebody will hire a 2-year experienced guy in a GCC which is two doors next, giving a raise of like, 10%, 15%, 30%, and so on. So there is a there is a place of period where there will be a bloodbath that will happen for talent, even after the GCC has established. But over a period of time, if you are successful in establishing you as a pioneer, then things will stabilize. So the stabilization period is anywhere between 2 years to 5 years. So if a company thinks just in a short term, quick returns, probably they might be lucky enough to have a surviving company, I would say. So typical time periods are 2 to 5 years. And then once you do that, right, what makes people come back to your company after that bloodbath happens? Because it's a very small pool of companies coming around in that area, right? So what goes around comes around. So then you should be prepared for 2 years, and you should be prepared for welcoming the people who have gone to come back, which is 5 years, which means you need to have a terrific culture that supported them. We used to say this, the way we smile and receive potential employees, is the same way we send people with a smile when they go. You can't take things personal and then say, hey, he has jumped for 15%, he has jumped for 30%. Along with him, they have taken, 10 more people. You have to treat them fair. Why this problem is exacerbated right now is a mix of population coming in. We call them as Gen Zs, Gen X, Gen Y, whatever be it. They need everything in the world of challenges, good culture, good environment for growth, and they need to have visibility about their growth. So all these mixtures will still need to be done. And earlier, people can easily beat around and say like, hey, you hardly have Infosys, or, Accenture or something. So people will say, okay, fine. What if it is, we are going to the competitor, they will come around. You can't take people for granted anymore. People would love to work in the company that have nil onboarding problems. Second, they want to see every 1 year or 2 year grow themselves, not in terms of designation, but equally in terms of challenge and learning and development. So that is where I would say the learning and development philosophy is very, very, very acute in the concept of GCCs, because people, that is your trump card that will get people when you stabilize. And you will have, I'm telling you, I'm betting you, you will have the cream of people coming back because you kept the door open with a welcome smile, and you will do it the same way when they come back. Now, the learning and practice is that one of the good things that works in an Indian GCC is that you cannot dissect people based on their skills. You have to dissect them based on their team effort, which is a very great learning that we had. People thank people for their support during their tough days, and then they repeat that, offering to people who are struggling. That's more of an Indian uh, attire that I saw during my days. If three people get together and solve a problem, uh, it bonds. So I still remember the first call that we used to take. One guy was on a headphone trying to resolve a call of an American customer. And then there were three people behind him, literally standing. Hey, thoda ye karo, thoda o karo. Oh, the customer is saying this, is it? Okay, I know that technical issue. Ask him to set this setting and then ask him for 2 minutes time. And then literally that guy used to go to the other cubicle and then search for information and get it. So in a way, we cannot employ bots here. If a group of people coming together and solving, so be it. If you are not able to recognize them and pay them based on individual skills or expertise, pay them on a team level skills. These are some of the nuances that you would amplify the performance, because once they are together, So we actually redefined the recognition model that we had on basically collective outcomes than on individual expertise. That were the learnings being in a GCC from the grounds up. Over a period of time, definitely there will be competition, but when people support each other initially, they don't take it so far. That's my experience. Because skills are still skills. They'll be as new as yesterday. So you need either you call it as the friends in the dark days. Uh, you need them together. The third thing is that there were also challenges in the light of the today's world. We are talking about DEI, diversity, inclusion, equity, and so on, is going to still be a challenge. Why? Because when you're talking about a GCC for serving local customers, time zone isn't a problem anymore because people come at the same time, go at the same time, and it's kind of a joy. Then you have the capabilities to include men, women, different genders, different ability people coming together. In our initial days, there were very drafted rules around employability of women in the night shifts and so on. And literally, our HR could call in somebody and have them interview to only be returned with a face saying that, oh no, we don't employ girls in the night shift, not because of the skills, but because we don't have ability to kind of, have the cab driver, cab, and things like that. So we have gone past those challenges. Today, if you see, irrespective of the gender, people can walk in any time zone, and work anybody comfortably without having to fear about going back home. And people are open to working in the time zone. So if you see in the today context, that is one of the problem which naturally got solved. So DEI naturally happens in India. So you don't need to go through that challenge what we had faced earlier. So I talked about the initial challenges, the success metrics of togetherness, and the challenges around how do you need to stay invested in learning and development, and as well as recognizing the need of collective output than the individual expertise. And one of the strong points from the technology enabler that we see, in the interest of time, how much more time do I have? Purvi?
Sir, you have time. You can speak. Please continue.
Okay. So if there is any hard stop, please let me know. Because I have more to offer in 15 years. I don't want to kind of overrun the time because people value their time, and I do. Okay, so next, going into the technology learning part of it, was that earlier, because of the confidence and trust between the captive centers, original place of origin, and the capability centers in India, always it used to be a stepwise support. So when a product is sold, after the product is installed, you have a lot of queries coming in, and you need to teach them, hold them, and guide them and solve them. These are, at that point in time, there are cultural issues also that used to come. We will discuss later. But the predominant thing that came in from a technology perspective was that trust is a people effort, not just a technology effort. But there are avenues where technology could help. Is that so? The earlier we used to have sort of L1, L2, L3, L4 kind of a support. So it's a tiered support, right? Then over a period of time, uh, the recipients of these calls, who are the end users who actually complain the call, are distributed across the world. They might be in Europe, they might be in US, predominantly in US. So they got uh, challenged that they have to step through multiple layers of support. And they used to say like, hey, why don't you directly put me to an expertise? I want to speak to an expertise. That's it. I don't want you to qualify. I don't want to repeat the calls, the nature of issues that we have. So there were two key issues where we used to face. One is, with technology, we got a central repository of database. which means whatever is a engineer in US who sees, the same database is what an engineer in India would see. So wherever somebody has left off a support call, the Indian engineer used to say, take it at the same point in time because he knows what has been discussed in the past, which means a technology support, the 360 dimension of a customer, not just the calls or the tickets, as we say, should be made exposed to both the groups of engineers, irrespective of the location that they are in. Nowadays, it comes naturally, be it a call handled in US or a call transferred to India or a call originating from India handled by a US engineer, they all see the same database. So the capability of an L1 engineer in US or a capability of an engineer in India may vary depending upon the life cycle, but they look at the same database. That's the key. And the second thing is that we went in from a tiered support to what we call as a knowledge-centered support, which means irrespective of the capability of an engineer, if this call requires an X level of expertise, irrespective of wherever that engineer, it will go to that engineer, right? So we used to operate on the same time zone as North America. So we had different time zones, like 3 different time zones, right? From 5:30 in the evening here in India, all the way to 9:30 in the night. We call them as graveyard shift in India. So we had mix of engineers parallelly taking calls in US and parallelly taking calls in India. So there used to be a situation where the skill level of people in America used to be high. We were at the receiving end. Okay, a lot of knowledge transfer used to happen. Over a period of time, attrition rates used to kind of, whether the people in America thought like, this is not the place that we need to be in because we are going to be replaced. And then they moved on to better other, areas of support, hip and happening. And all those calls used to come to here. So always that balance of, skills used to be looked at as a pool, not whether it is coming from India or from America. Over a period of time, indeed, we used to support better in terms of skills because the skill level in US used to go down and it used to improve here. And we see the same phenomena for a recent company that I work for, a cybersecurity company, that while we were catching up when America was going down in terms of repatriating the skill, we see the same thing from now going to Romania or the near centers or Mexico and so on. So it's a circle, right? The balance of skill is what is going on, and we need to act accordingly. Technology is an enabler because it used to be the knowledge-centered support. Now coming to the nuances of placing the skills for the right cost arbitration is that we used to call them as known versus new issue. So the knowledge-centered support supported by software such as Salesforce, and you take any CRM software in the area of support, it used to kind of automatically do recommendations. When you type in, this is the query, it knows that it has a repeat of 3 or 4 customers asking on the same lines. So we need to provide the top 5 solutions that pertaining to that. So in India, instead of supporting calls and resolving them, we also became the knowledge providers, which means when we take a call, we properly document, we go through the investigation steps, what we went through, what sorts of help were there. Everything was documented into that technology interface. And when we resolved, we said, how was the journey of this particular ticket or call? And we used to write a proper documentation of what is the diagnosis, what was the error, how it was solved, and what are all the steps that we took to solve. So,
Sir,
yeah,
Satya sir, sorry for interrupting. I would request you to kindly conclude in next 3 minutes, please.
yes, we'll do it. So we used to earlier we used to solve calls. The number of calls solved is your, your price for that. Later, we moved to actually preparing documentation about how to solve calls, create knowledge, then that used to be your recognition factor. So we actually moved from solving calls to creating knowledge, and that was a journey by itself. So technology is an enabler, and shifting roles was the enabler there. Finally, now this will be a part of any capability building center, from knowing what is skills, what roles, what is the changing dynamics, how technology can play, and what is the evolving roles as well. Finally, I would like to conclude, GCC is not about cost alone. It is about looking at the dimension of enabling capabilities, and India is poised at a higher level just because of the facts that we produce engineers. The technology is a leveler in terms of the world, because if you see a technology coming in the world, X part of the world, in India also it will come. Now you have one more extra reason to be the natural source for GCC, is because we are not only servicing processes, skills, but we are also becoming the startup, hotbed of the world, which means a skill that is needed, a product that is produced, you can see them on the horizon here in India that people already might have skills for. So what I would conclude is that GCC is a worldwide concept, okay? But India is poised because of the fact that look at it as a nation building exercise. You will have a complete plethora of opportunities. You have people, you have technologies, you are having people interested in investing in global capability center. And for a person who has led 100 odd knowledge center, moving from a process outsourcing to a knowledge center, uh, history isn't any different. We know the problems, we know the solutions. Make the best use of it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. We have few questions for you. Sir, given your background in creating impactful customer success frameworks, how can GCCs redefine customer engagement and deliver enhanced business outcomes in a competitive global landscape?
Yep. One of the things I would say is uh, technology is same. You take Salesforce as a CRM platform to service your customer. Salesforce is everywhere, be it in US or in India or in Colombo or wherever it is, right? So the undue advantage of technology being a differentiator is no more a problem. You have the same platform, right? Skilling is on the same platform. People have the same qualification. So that is no more a leveler, I would say, or a USP. Where the leveler or the USP is in terms of people. So a Gen Z or Gen X person in US is equally the same person in India, because they have been exposed to the same set of challenges, same set of technologies, and same set of aspiration. I don't see an aspirational difference between a person wanting to work from home here vis-a-vis a Canadian or an American. Because if you just take across the world, be it Bangalore, be it Pune, or be it Boston, you have the same traffic problem everywhere. So people want to get back to home as fast as they can. If you give them a chance of work from home, everybody would do. And indeed, the cost of operating from home is as equivalent in India, which is affordable, as equivalent in US. So those are all levelers. If you don't say that, okay, all of you have to strictly come to office, then you might end up with a problem. So don't create problems. You already have everything in your favor. So I would sum it up that a USP is in terms of acknowledging the current generation's need while making use of the expertise of the previous generation's experience. Don't mess up is my watchword. At the same time, the thing is that we have everything in our favor to bring about that USP, what is required is patience and perseverance as a learning from the history. We will go through doing those mistakes again and again. If we are mindful and we do it, we have enough to do it. The watchword is don't mess up. The kind word is perceive. We will be successful.
Thanks a lot, sir. Thanks a lot for your valuable insights. Now let's dive into the next session by Mr. Raghubabu Kunduru on innovative engagement models for establishing GCCs in India. Mr. Raghubabu Kunduru is a founder and director of Simplibus Private Limited. Mr. Raghu is a seasoned company secretary, legal, and business professional with an impressive career spanning close to 3 decades. His deep expertise in corporate law, compliance, M&A, and capital markets has enabled him to become a trusted advisor to numerous business and entrepreneurs. He's a Thai Hyderabad charter member, early stage investor, and ecosystem contributor for startups and SMBs. He has invested in over 30 companies. Raghu is also on the board of a few Indian companies having an international presence, which gives him a global perspective of business. With a keen eye for identifying market trends and opportunities, Raghu founded Simplibus Private Limited to address the complex challenges faced by emerging and growing companies. Simplibus offers entity management services and GCC solutions to funded startups and small and medium businesses. Over to you, Raghu sir.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thank you, Purvi, for that wonderful introduction. I think session delivered by Satya. I mean, he had set a fantastic context. Taking us to the journey where it started, maybe 50, 20 years back. What used to be called ODC, shared offices, captive centers. Now is become now it is being called as GCC. More sophisticated word. And also we have earned this title. We have created this market segment. We have created this industry segment. What used to be a cost arbitrage, now it has become a value arbitrage, value creation. That is how this global capability center, the nomenclature came out. And I think, India is rocking in this, segment with several advantage. I think I'll take maybe 20, 30 minutes to kind of set the I mean, there are various engagement models, but I also wanted to spend little time on, the whole GCC landscape, and then we'll get into the engagement models. And I mean, if any participants have questions, at the end of my session, we can take those questions. Yeah. I mean, 1 second. We all are aware, the brand India is shining big time. And as we progress towards building, becoming the Vikasit Bharat by 2047, I think there are several things favoring India, things like stable government and very, very productive, population, the technology, the digital landscape which we have created, only particularly in the GCC context. It's a mind-blowing the kind of progress we have done in this area for last several years. There are close to 3,000 GCC units set up by 1,700 large enterprises, large global enterprises, right? And you see the name, you see the Fortune 500 or a global company, they all have presence. Companies like Ford, Target, companies like GitHub, JMD, Truecaller, in Amazon. I mean, all these have become a kind of a very, very common names in Indian context and Indian business circle, Indian professional circle. That's how we have done it. I mean, the another very, very important thing which is driving this JCC wave, right? We have close to 3.7 million talent pool, software engineers with AI and AML kind of skills. I think we don't know China, what is the talent pool, but obviously given a largest English speaking technical talent pool, I think we have that largest talent pool here. And 460,000 with new age tech skills, which are required for the GCCs. And I mean, even on the startup side, we are growing phenomenally. We have 140,000 startups who are there in India, which is again growing maybe 25-30% year on year. And the combined revenue of all the GCCs in India, we're talking about around $65 billion. And we have a digital skilled force, broadly, all the software engineers and who have a digital skills is around 5.4 million. And AI professionals alone, we are talking about, 416K out of 3.7 million. We are talking about 416,000 professionals, AI professionals available. I mean, we all are aware, right? The kind of demand for these professionals. I mean, the kind of disruption we are witnessing, one new player, shaking the markets like anything, right? It is shaking the government, shaking the business. One deep seek, the Chinese guys who launched 2 days back, could create a huge impact in terms of market cap, how the several large enterprises needs to look at the space, the political alignment and the professionals, a lot of us who work in this domain, how do we align, what is expected. I mean, the kind of disruption we are trying to witness is, unimaginable. I think I see this as first time in the human history, the way, the pace at which, the technological advancement which is happening, which is impacting everything in the, in the space, right? In the earth space, every part of the life. Yeah. I mean, why India? I think, I don't think it's still what I want to say is, I mean, it is bought, right? Why India? I don't think it's a no more a question. It is an accepted fact. World's fastest growing economy, stable government, even on the tax regime. I think particularly last 2-3 years we have become a more competitive tax regime, which used to be a little bottleneck in the earlier context. We were our tax rates were corporate tax rates were more than 44%, but currently it came to kind of around 25% kind of a tax regime. Robust banking and financial institution, extensive digitization. I think the digital landscape, digital infrastructure which we have created, I think that is another very, very, very important. What I see is one is the talent pool. Second is the digital infrastructure, which is enabling these large companies to come and set up. There are no questions. Do you have a bandwidth? Do you have a smartphone? How is your privacy? How are your servers? What is your electricity availability? Do you have a grade A infrastructure? All these questions are behind. Maybe they were very relevant maybe 10 years back, 20 years back. I mean, this some of the details from the very, very latest report, published by ANSR. 450 out of 2,000, Fortune global companies, 450 have presence, and they are employing 1.3 million people. And in terms of number of centers, they have around 825. They are growing at a 5.5 CAGR and 30% women workforce. I mean, this is likely to grow up. I mean, while we say we have 2,000 GCCs, we are likely to become 3,000, 3,500. We are expected to grow 10 to 15% year on year. I mean, this only takes care of some component of the number of companies who are coming to India. GCC, some of this definition itself, right? I mean, what do we mean by in terms of how are we saying there are only 1,800 GCCs? I think I was trying to figure out, I believe, a single campus having around 3,000 people and more is considered as a GCC for this definition, right? But there are several, mid-market companies, there are several SMBs, global SMBs, coming and, operating in India. They have a capability center, right? I mean, there could be people, 50 people, 100 people, 200, 500, 1,000, 2,000. So if you take that as a whole pool of GCCs, I think that is going to be few thousand numbers. It could be maybe 20,000, 30,000 kind of a number. But for whatever reason, somebody has defined, GCC and said, there are 1,800 GCC, but there's a lot more companies and GCCs which are in India, which is growing. That's a very, very large pool. That can be 5 times of what we are talking actually. Right. Yeah. So while the journey last 20-30 years, more so for last 10 years, large Fortune 500 companies, large companies all over the world have come to India. But what we are witnessing now, maybe last 1 to 2 years, particularly maybe last couple of months, and what we are seeing, a lot of mid-market companies are going to come. Mid-market companies could be somebody with a 100 million revenue to 500 million revenue. Maybe the large enterprises, generally 1 billion and more kind of a thing. But a lot of mid-market companies, SMBs between 100 to 500 million are likely to are already coming. They are going to come in big numbers, right? Um, I mean, what is motivation? I think Satya has explained, very detailedly. It's talent, talent. Right? I mean, obviously that is the rarest, resource which every enterprise needs to have that right talent. That is what is driving all the GCCs. I mean, while the first phase of so-called GCCs, maybe you call it as a captives, they were driven by the cost factors. This is a low-end work. Instead of doing in the expensive environment, let me offshore it to the low cost of operations where the salaries are very, very low. That's how we started. But today it is not the driver. It is an incidental benefit. Definitely, still we have huge, decent amount of cost arbitrage, but it is not the driver. Driver is the talent, the excellent human resources we have. All these companies, wanted the talent to come. So that is established in big time, and the lot of SMBs and mid market companies are going to come in the bring the several GCCs. Now we wanted to look at typically what is the life cycle. How does the decision making happens? Why one makes this decision, right? If you look at mostly these decisions are the sponsors typically of the CEOs, CFOs, CTOs, CIOs. If you see this CXO level, what is their KRA? KRA is productivity, profitability, growth, right? This is whatever they do. I mean, it falls in these categories. Am I becoming relevant 3 years from now? How is my profitability? Can I go at this, a particular rate of growth? How do I make my new investments? Where does my growth comes? Inorganic, organic? Where do I invest? How do I do innovate? How do I stay ahead of my competition? These are the questions, right? When these questions are asked, right? I mean, obviously, one important thing is even in the inorganic, your own growth journey, cost optimization, innovation, building new products and new services, going to the new markets. These are all the things, right? So, I mean, these decision making depends upon the kind of GCC one looking at. I mean, there are strategic functions, there are operational functions, right? If it is a strategic function, I mean, if it is a strategic function, the decision has to come from a board level or a CEO level, right? But sometimes it could be a large enterprise with a huge tech team, right? A huge tech team spread over multiple geographies and multiple service providers, right? But you want to optimize that. Then the decision could be of a CTO or a CIO. What we are witnessing, last maybe I think it's a very recent phenomenon, last 12 to 18 months, what was being outsourced to large service companies, IT services companies, is getting insourced. Why is this happening? I mean, increasingly, right? Everybody wanted to show growth. They wanted to have control on their own resources, outcomes, outputs. What has worked maybe for large IT services companies in India, maybe last 25, 30 years, I think started changing. Large enterprises are moving towards insourcing. I mean, it's also insourcing, and then maybe because I'm insourcing, I need to build a capability center. Now, these IT services companies now seeing this trend, instead of losing that client, they are trying to get into a model of build, operate, and transfer. I'm already serving you. I have 500 people working for your project, but I'm happy to transition this instead of doing overnight and lose that business. I'm happy to build a model around it, and over 3 years, I will transition to to a principal. That is what the trend which is happening. So coming back to on the the decision makers, as I said, it could be CEO and board level, or it could be CTO or a CFO kind of a thing, right? Now, yes.
Sir, sorry for interrupting. I would request you to kindly conclude in next 10 minutes, please.
Okay. Sure. Yeah. So the other piece is what kind of functions, either strategic function or could be you have a operational function, right? You have technology as a function, you have a marketing as a function, you have a finance as a function, you have a market, the business development as a function, digital marketing as a function, customer service as a function. What kind of functions I wanted to drive from my capability center? So there are companies who are trying to, technology outsourcing, technology capability center. I mean, it's, there's a lot of maturity in India. There are maybe 60% of the, GCCs are tech capability centers. Maybe another 30-40% are, other capability center. Increasingly, maybe, I mean, why we have large BFSI companies, banking, financial services companies who came even, maybe 10 years back, but that's a big piece, finance operations, accounting operations, payables, receivables, all that got, are getting outsourced and, GCC are doing. So other than the tech and finance, a lot of other functions are being done through these GCCs now, marketing function, business development function, tendering function, like that, based on the, company requirement, those functions are getting, done through the GCCs. Most important, the stakeholders, the beneficiaries are the kind of little affected parties have to be made part of this decision making. When somebody says, I wanted to start a GCC in India, it is not that you set up everything and then, try to bring the stakeholders. I just want to give a bit of example here. We were working with one foreign company in setting up their GCC, and they want to build a tech capability center with 100 plus people. Tech, also cyber security. These are the two functions they want to do it. The company is a large fashion brand, having more than 3,000 outlets all over the world, and over the period of time they acquired the businesses in various markets. In London, they have acquired business. Australia, they have acquired business. So they were present in, 4 or 5 large markets. They have acquired, it's a lot of legacy systems. They have also several service providers, right? There are there are several service providers, large service providers, and they also have their own third-party service provider in India. But somewhere they felt they need to get a more control. They need to have a holistic solution for their entire tech capability. They want to in-house. So they brought in a team from all these locations. The CTO brought in the technology head in multiple locations, and the business functions which are connected to this. They formed a group, and then the decision was made. Then they got into the market. How do we? And then comes to the why do we want to do? What outcomes we want to achieve? How do I measure? Is it in number of people, it number of productivity? That's very, very important. The goal and the measuring metrics is very, very important as we start, right? Otherwise it's very difficult. There's no measurement, there is no, we can't, evaluate. We don't know, are we succeeding or, money is going into drain. That's how this piece has to be done in the setting up a. This is very, very, very important. Given lack of little time, I'll just get into the the engagement models, right? Typically, these are the four broad engagement models, or four broad ways this GCC can be set up. Given some of these companies are coming first time to India, and culture, talent, infrastructure, regulatory environment, all of this is definitely new to them. Therefore, instead of going on their own and taking risk, unknown risk, they wanted to go with a trusted partner, and who have enough experience in this domain. That is where this build, operate, transfer model comes. I know these are generally logged in for 3 to 7 years, and these operator also gives you a lot of comfort in terms of ability to hire, given the lot of knowledge in terms of local markets, culture, talent availability, screening ability, all of that. So it becomes very, very easy to go with the build, operate, and transfer kind of a model. And then over maybe 5 to 7 years, this entire thing is transitioned to the parent company. The company manages on its own. This is generally for a very, very large companies. And sometimes this is also measured in terms of how many processes I am able to move here. It's also gradual and phased manner. Maybe we keep seeing headlines, right? X company want to go with 3,000 people, 5,000 people. It doesn't happen in 1 year or 6 months. It takes 3 to 5 years. You start with 2, 3 processes, put a small team, and work on it, see that is started delivering, then you pick up the another process and keep increasing it. So that's what is the build, operate, transfer. You work with a local partner who is capable, and work on it. Pay as you go is more of a for the kind of an SMBs, and we wanted to test the water with a smaller scale, or sometimes it is possible. I have a very, very small project. I want to do a some innovative project, which sometimes large companies get lost, given their own hierarchical structure, lack of focus. Then this pay as you go becomes very, very important. I wanted to have a innovation pad, or maybe a team with 5, 6 people who can come with the deep tech, AI, and go after some of my use case problems and solve that. Then I can expand to larger base, and increase the number and all. Pay as you go is less capex, easy to start and scale up. As you grow, right? Incrementally you grow is what is a pay as you go model. Employer on record, again, very, very, just hire a resource. You don't even need a legal entity, and very, very quick to employer on record. Again, maybe employer on record may not work for the large enterprise and mid market. Maybe the SMBs it will work, and just kind of a hire and fire kind of a model. Pay as you go, employer on record have some kind of a challenges, right, in terms of branding parent company, bringing that alignment with the parent company, cultural issues, complete integration does not exist, which is also very, very important. Pay as you go, you can still achieve, but employer on record may be a little difficult. This is again kind of a temporary thing. Before I commit bigger investment, bigger project, I want to test for 6 to 12 months, get the feel about the resources, everything, their capability. Then I can go to a pay as you go, or a build, operate, and transfer. And the hybrid is the combination. The combination of all of these, which happens. But majority is build, operate, transfer, and pay as you go are the significant models which are in which are majority of them are doing through these models. Yeah, I mean that's where I wanted to stop. I mean, if you have any questions, we can take.
Sure, sir. Thank you for the presentation, sir. We have one question for you too. So, given your extensive experience in corporate law, compliance, and startup ecosystem, how do you see strategic outsourcing enabling GCC to streamline operations while maintaining compliance and navigating regulatory complexities in emerging markets like India?
No, no. Fortunately, I mean, Indian market is very, very matured. You have a lot of, talent available and the service providers available. What is needed is we need to work with the trusted partners, who have done this so that, risk can be mitigated. That's the beauty. The talent is available, either the independent professionals or the firms with this kind of skill set is available. Today, several areas, risk is mitigated. I mean, the better planning, and engaging with the right people. What it matters. There are risks. There are challenges in terms of little bit of ease of doing business, or maybe transfer pricing regulations. We may encounter some bottlenecks, but if we are well prepared, we know that this is what is likely to happen. This will take time. This is how we need to mitigate. Then it becomes a if you know that there is a this is what the problem, this is how you can mitigate, then it journey becomes smooth. There is nothing, what I call the sudden, then there is a problem. If you have not envisioned, then there is a problem. If you know that this is how the journey is going to be, then you are better prepared, you can handle better.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot for your valuable insights and patience in answering our question. Now let's jump to our final session by Mr. Pola Anand Naidu, who is adjunct professor at National Academy of Legal Studies and Research, University, Hyderabad. Retired Group Captain Pola Anand Naidu has over 30 years of experience in multicultural technology-driven large organizations in senior position in management, operations, and policy intervention. He has joined Akash Law as a transactional practitioner with domain knowledge in aviation, defense, and aeroscape, media and broadcasting, contract management, administration, HR litigation management. He served as Additional Director General in Doordarshan and All India Radio, Prasar Bharati heading corporate HR, administration, PR and IT, media operations, litigation management, security, CSR, government collaborations, and international relations. He has been a keynote speaker at international events. Presently, he is associated with Nalsar University of Law, teaching aviation laws, transactional practitioner, and consulting with Akash Law, director of Clean Exit Consultancy Services Limited, a workplace company, Tactical Cyber Range Simulations Private Limited, and ESAC, which are all startups. Over to you to talk to us, sir, on professional ethics at workplace for survival.
Thank you very much and very good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
And can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much and very, very good evening to all the audience. Thank you very much for joining. Thank you for that lovely introduction. A little too long. I think next time I will shorten it. But thank you. And I must thank the speakers before me, Mr. Satya, as well as Suresh Babu Garu, for giving a nice, leading to what I'm going to speak about. One talking about the GCCs, and the other one is enabling the GCCs to function better. And what a better way to get the platform wherein I am able to speak about the people part. And the technology and other things are there, of course, but the most important part is the people, and especially in today's technology world where AI is talked about and it's going to rule the world, literally. Already we are seeing the war on generative AI and what is happening with all kinds of things that are happening between two big powers. So now what I want to talk about is how do we survive, sustain, and succeed in our businesses by following ethical practices, and why do we need to follow them, and what has gone wrong and what is the present status. These are the things that I would discuss in the next maybe 15-20 minutes quickly, just to give an idea. Trust me, there are fraud surveys that are conducted every year, and there is a global fraud survey, there is a Asian fraud survey, and of course the Transparency International and many other agencies are there. The reports, if we read, they're very kind of give us a little sad feeling that what are we heading for. They're disturbing, the outcomes and reports. Why? Because things are getting out of control literally. And now add to the ethical issues when we talk about the new and emerging technologies like AI and the ML. And you have data protection laws at many countries they have, but unfortunately the implementation is a problem. So there are major problems that are around this particular area. Now, all of that actually starts with our resume, with our CV, curriculum vitae that we make. Anyone at any stage, whatever stage we have to give our brief bio. And if that is not true representation of what my personality is, the problem starts from there. And like you can see the present status in 2024, resume fraud continue to be significant concern both globally and in India. I'm talking about globally, it's not about only India. Trust me, the problem is universal. And the problem is across sectors, the problem is across cultures, the problem is across age groups as well. The problem is across the seniority levels of the people. That is the biggest problem. Resume fraud, it's actually standout CV revealed that 64.2% of the Americans admitted to lying on their resumes at least once. This was a survey done, not lie, openly they have not admitted. The survey done. The most common fabrications included inflating previous employment salary, and trust me, this happens even in India. I'll come to the Indian numbers subsequently. Exaggeration of skills, 30.8%. Embellishing work experience, whether it is internship or work experience, it happens and it is a fact. And this is causing a big dent on benchmarking of the salaries of the employees at every level, whether it is fresher level or at senior level. We are not able to benchmark the salaries because everyone is lying. That's the problem. Not everyone, but just see the numbers. Alarmingly, more than half of the respondents indicated that they would lie again to secure a desired job. And here it's talking about embellishing the work experience and internship and other things. There is a bigger problem there. I'll just discuss that. Ethical implications. There's a University of North Carolina Ethics and Policy Center a study which says lying on a resume violates fundamental, the policy says, violates fundamental principles of honesty and integrity. And this is reiterated actually by the ISO also, which talks about this. Okay, compliance management is what is the ISO on, and it talks about how one is actually denting honesty and integrity by not being ethical. The severity of these ethical breaches varies from minor exaggerations. Actually, they are more on the other side, significant fabrications. Okay, each carrying its own ethical weight. Indian conditions, just a couple of things that I want to mention. High incidence of fake CVs. Trust me, 10% of Indian CVs contain discrepancies, and because we are large number, the numbers are 47 million. But this is 10% is not an aberration. 10% to 12% is the average across the countries. That's the biggest problem. At every seniority level, it's happening. If we can fix this problem, I think most of the things are taken care. And how do we fix that? I'll come to it later. Okay, resume fraud among executives. The KPMG survey says, even senior executives, conflict of interest has become a very common factor at senior levels after getting into the job by giving fraudulent resumes or CVs. Okay. Now, this is a standout CV, though. Over half of the employees report lying on resume. Just see, when it comes to different industries, there is not much of difference. I mean, between 65 to 79 is the difference. We are saying that across the industries, there is a problem, and that continues to grow. Okay. And lying about salary, it's between 26.5 or 25 to 32. Not much of a variation, but almost almost these are the factors that are being lied about: salary, work experience, college degrees and internships, job titles. Many of them give, the chat GPT and these AI apps, and there are many apps which can generate resumes. People are using these to create newer and newer, even the job appointments and designations that they have, job titles that they have. When looking at age ranges, the study finds that younger people are more likely to have lied on their age. Now, this is the problem. The genesis of the problem is this, where we need to fix the younger generation. That is the stage where we need to fix this problem. Now, there are some things that are being done, but possibly it's just the beginning, and it has to happen at an international, at a global level. That is the requirement now. Now, AI resumes search on Google is 1592% increase between 2022 to 2020. 1592%. This is happening despite the fact that the verification also is being done by using AI. People are getting caught left, right, and center. I'll give you one example. There was a news article where some students from India have been charge sheeted on the charge of threat to homeland security in US because they have lied on their resume when they went for higher education. Recently, there was a news in Germany. I'm talking about what is in the news, but otherwise the fact remains that every country is facing this problem, whether it is uh, America or Europe or wherever it is. Almost all countries are having this problem, and it needs to be addressed. Some important incidents that I'll just discuss. One entire HR team actually was terminated because they relied too much without checking on the technology. Now, this is a big problem, especially when we are talking about the cheating that is done in the data that is inputted, the machine learning data sets that are inputted, how correct they are, how accurate they are, where are they coming from, are they representative of the data that is likely to be used on the target participant and audience. Now, these are some of the things that will definitely cause a lot of difficulty. If we rely blindly on technology for HR management, it can cause a lot of difficulty. Now, racial biases in hiring. This is a very important incident that has happened. Alia Jones created a fake LinkedIn profile under the name Emily Osborne and AI generated white woman to expose racial biases in job hiring. Despite having identical qualifications and experiences, the fictitious profile received significantly more job interviews. Now, this is something which happens actually. This is the problem. Racial discrimination. Now, DEI we talk about, okay, integration and all that. Unfortunately, when it comes to the individual biases, they are not yet overcome. Okay, that case is how this is how it has happened, and between the white and black, there's a huge difference. That's what the case has come to. Now, AMS Inform, a company has done a survey, and these are the findings. 50% of the people lie in their resumes. 85% of the employers have caught candidates lying. Now, is it that only the employees are lying? Unfortunately, it's a culture. I think Satya was talking about culture building. Yes, culture building is a continuous process and a long-term process to bring a certain culture. Maintaining that culture is a continuous process. Now, that actually starts from top down. When I say top down, it's Tata's, for example. In the most ethical companies in the world, there are only, I think, two companies, and Wipro and Tata Motors. Now, why Tatas are there? They are there because they have been following ethical practices for a long time. They have established and maintained. Wipro, established and maintained. Wipro, you get a pink slip if you have been identified to have fudged even 1 rupee of your travel expense. You are gone. That's as simple as that. Now, this is something which is needs to be emulated. Now, when we have such things, obviously things will improve. But only two companies in the top 100 in ethical companies from India. Now, when we talk about top 100, every country has these problems. That's my worry. So this is a global problem we need to address. 85% of the employers have caught lying, and most of them, The employers also are actually encouraging the people to do it. That is the biggest problem. The top line, inflated skills, Python, when we were talking about, Satya was elaborately talking about skills, whether we need skills or we don't very really care about the required skills. Skills can be acquired subsequently after the individual has joined. Also, it is attitude and aptitude that matter a lot. Absolutely, absolutely right. That there a little deficiency in skills can always be made good, especially with technology support. He was talking about support from 2-3 people. Now let us take it as technology support. It's done thing. But if there is a deficiency in attitude, if there is a problem in ethical practices that one practice at the workplace, it's difficult to fix. That is where we have to catch them young. We have to catch them very young, so that at least for 5 years, if they're maintaining honest CV, the DNA gets it gets into the DNA, and we hopefully will maintain that honesty. That's what is the expectation. Okay, 1 in 4 background checks reveal discrepancies, mismatched employment dates, yes, mostly unearned degrees, certifications, the qualifications. 33% lie about education history, like incomplete degrees. Executives also lie. Previous job titles misrepresentation. I think we have discussed already in the international scenario. Sales executives becomes regional sales lead. I told you, people are using the generative AI apps to create very fancy kind of job titles. I don't think there is a need for creating newer and newer and newer job titles. I know a company where a young girl, as a fresher of MBA, joined the company, and she was given the title Chief Growth Officer. And when she went and met the first, serious client to sell something, that person asked, "Okay, you are the Chief Growth Officer. Who are the other growth officers with you?" "No one else." "Okay, you are the Chief Growth Officer. What is growth that you are actually responsible for?" It's a startup. So now, why do you need to give the fancy title of Chief Growth Officer for a fresher immediately after MBA? Come on, be realistic about the title. There's no need to be really fancy. Strategy and all those things, very fancy kind of titles. I think we will have to be realistic in what an individual is expected to do and give that title. That's what it is. Okay. Employment dates faked, yes. Falsified references many times. And trust me, if the references are called back and they say, "No, we don't even know." Okay, employers lose millions in terms of time. There's a Times of India study, accent study. What it says is, it is almost 27 times of the employees CTC, that is the cost if a mishire has happened. And mishire, especially if it is in terms of the professional ethics, it's many more times, because we don't know what kind of loss is going to be caused. Internal frauds have become so very seriously denting. Today, with one click of a button, whole data of the company can be transferred. And just imagine if something like that happens in Indian context or the GDPR context, the penalties are so very huge. Huge penalties are there if the data is leaked out. Data breach is happening. And what if individual is, we have known in the recent past some of the companies which have gone into the dark web with the data, and the claims were that the insiders have provided that data. And that is where we need to address, fix the problem at the very beginning. That's what is more important. Instead of wasting your money and time after recruiting him and repenting, fix it at the beginning. Ask him, are you ethically committed? This is the beginning of the career which it should happen. Now, these are the things that we have already discussed. Trainability and deployment. I just want to say a few more words, because both the speakers ahead of me have spoken about it in a different context, of course. But what I want to say is, if I am a fresher and I give a 3-page resume saying that I know these skills I have, and the HR guy, poor thing, he doesn't even know where to deploy me. He doesn't know what to train me, because my resume shows I know everything on earth. I mean, the latest are the futuristic skills also. There's something which has not even happened now. He knows. Recently, there was a tweet by one of the very well-known industrialist, said an IIT candidate was interviewed by a company for some job role. So the candidate was asked, do you know what technologies we use? And the student said, I will know it. Once I join you, I will know it, and I will. Now just imagine that. He has written in his resume those skills. In the resume, he has written that he knows those skills. He has possesses those skills. And he's asked about it, he is not. Now, this just imagine that kind of a situation. Where do we deploy him? I have taken him, and today the scenario is such. I think Satya was speaking about the cybersecurity industry. In cybersecurity industry, two things are very critical. One, I need persons with experience. Where do they get experience from? I mean, if I don't hire freshers, how will they get experience? They can't come out of their mother's womb with experience. Like in mythology, we had Abhimanyu coming out with all the skills to use be the best archer. No, that's not the way. Experience has to come, but for that you have to have trust, because the cybersecurity professional has access to all your crown jewels. How do you trust him? This is a problem that we are facing now. The deployability is required to be today. If I take him, I want him to be deployed today. But the bigger problem is no cybersecurity. I mean, not no. Almost 90-95% of the certifications across the world have no hands-on training, and they have no internships. How do you get a deployable manpower? But this resume is showing that he has this skill, that skill, this skill, that skill. All skills are there. This is where HR and the practice heads are pulling their hair in all directions. And trust me, in India, we have, I have my own company, which is working in collaboration with the AICTE, which is only working on and creating certifications only when they get hands-on training, as well as they pass the practical test. That's a requirement now, especially in cybersecurity. I can't, if someone is hiring me, Satya hires me and says, I know mobile vulnerability testing, VAPT for mobile phones, and he gives me a mobile phone, and I tell him, okay, these are the steps that you need to take, then we can test the vulnerability. Can it happen? I know swimming, only theoretical swimming. I know because I learned it in the classroom. Can it happen? So these are some of the things that are very disturbing. Increasing problem of exaggerated or falsified resumes we discussed. When professionals lack the qualifications they claim, we all are at risk, especially in sectors like critical sectors and cybersecurity. What happens? You stamp someone as a cybersecurity professional fit for a certain role, and he's not fit for that role. He is, ladies and gentlemen, causing the national security. I'm not talking about Indian context. I'm talking about international context. He is a threat to the national security. If I am certified as a forensic expert and I don't possess the skills to be a forensicator, I am a threat to the company that is employing me. I'm a threat to the nation indirectly. And I ought not be there stamped as forensicator, or stamped as pen tester, or stamped as SOC analyst, or stamped as whatever designation or job role that I'm supposed to be performing. We shall not encourage these things. This causes financial reputation. I think we have discussed on reputational. Yes, people are getting certified left, right, and center as all kinds of trainings and certifications without having the skills required, and they join. And after joining, they can't even do basic elementary. That's the problem. Resumes become very critical. Now, this is where the difference is. I will be the next 5 years. I should be able to close, please. Okay, these are some of the features that we're talking about. Exaggeration. Okay, traditional CV, so many things. Did I mention? I don't think. Germany has recently done a survey. The news said that 8% of the students who have gone from India found to have faked resumes, and it is across the world again. And they are saying that it could be as high as 42 in somewhere or the other, whether it is certifications, whether it is internships, whether it is experience, whether it is the publication of papers, whether it is the projects that they have done. I mean, somewhere or the other, that's where the problem is. Honest CV, on the other hand, encourages realistic self-presentation. That means show what I am. That's it. Certifications, training, and internships, we have talked about it at length. The honest CV does prioritization of verified certification score completion with clear outcomes. The government of India has brought in something known as NCBET, and hopefully the banking of the credits thing will help us in future. It will take a little time. Before that, we have to start this now. We have already started, of course. Gaps in employment, this also acknowledge the gaps, accept the gap. If you had a break for 1 year, just say I had a break because I didn't want to work. I had a break because I wanted to try out organic farming at my hometown. Just say no, I just felt like traveling across the world. It's a big achievement. You travel and learn a lot of things. Just say I tried my hands at startup. I started something and it didn't work out. It's perfectly all right. I mean, you have learned many things. Failure is teaching so many things. Failure is teaching so many things. You're not a failure just because you worked on some project of your own and started something and tried something different. You're bringing a different experience, man. So accept it, please. That's exactly what it is. Honest CV isn't about stripping resumes down to the bare minimum. No, that's not the intent. It's about ethical representation and focusing on what truly matters, verifiable skills that create value. With this structured approach, both candidate companies also benefit. Please understand that's where it is. Why industries should embrace honest CVs and how also I'll just discuss quickly. This is what I was talking about. Compliance management system, ISO, it talks about organization-wide compliance management system enables an organization to demonstrate its commitment to comply with relevant laws. More importantly, standards of good governance, generally accepted best practices, and ethics and community expectations. This is something very important. We have to expect people to be professionally ethical. I'm not talking about morals. I'm not talking about religion. I'm not talking about faith. We are talking about ethical work practices. Simple. It's as simple as that. Reduce time spent in sifting through the inflated resumes, faster identification of truly qualified candidates, matching realistic records. I talked about trainability and deployability. If I know where I need to train him and where I can deploy him, it's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. Lower risk of hiring costly mistakes due to skill gaps, strengthens organization's reputation as a champion of ethics in cybersecurity, especially in the field of cybersecurity. We're talking about it minimizes surprises after hiring, allowing you to focus resources where they truly count. Whatever is the strength, it's okay if someone has not volunteered, but he doesn't have to mention that I volunteered in moving. Someone was trying to tell me to move Himalayas from north to the south of India. I have volunteered to do that. No, you don't have to say all that. There's no need. Embracing this initiative signals commitment to both technical excellence and integrity. Very, very important. See, there's a Washington Accord which says that ethics has to be taught as part of the curriculum for the engineering graduates and the polytechnic students. There is a Seoul Accord which says the computer students must learn ethics. We have signed in India, and most of the countries have signed, but unfortunately, most of the people are not implementing this part. Now, this, for some reason, in Indian context at least, for some years, even the moral education, ethical education has been removed from the curriculum in the schools. Fortunately, the new education policy has brought it back, and there is so much of importance being given. And how I am talking about ethics is because the ISAC, Information Sharing and Analysis Center, we have signed a MOU with All India Council for Technical Education, the highest level technical regulator and a statutory body, to create ethical workforce in India. And we are doing that in collaboration with AICT and many of the institutions. Now, what is required is pull. That is the push that we are giving for the students to get into this space, get into this thought process of being ethical at workplace. Now, pull has to be an institution or an organization which is hiring him has to ask, are you trained and certified in professional ethics as envisaged by AICT? That question has to be asked. It has to be part of the initial screening process of the HRs when they are going for recruitments. That is the beginning of that. Partnership for progress, of course, I have to be partner in the progress. This is it's not about morality at all. It's about safeguarding our future. That is where your survival, the company's survival is going to come from. And once you survive, your sustenance becomes much easier. And then you may lead to success. That's exactly what it is. And if you have a couple of guys who are defrauding you, who are leaking out data, who is leaking out the tender that you have filled, where are you going to succeed? You're not going to survive in any case. And if it is a startup, trust me, the survival is going to be not possible if the employees are the partners are not ethical. So many companies we have seen startups taking funding and buying yachts and buying helicopters and things like big villas in some remote locations, and enjoying at the cost of the others. It's happening. And suddenly we find that the startup is vanished from the radar. Join this movement to send a strong message that integrity matters not only in cybersecurity but in all these spaces. Cybersecurity I've just mentioned. Okay, let's shape the hiring landscape together, prioritize honesty, and build a workforce equipped to truly protect our digital world. Trust me, it is digital, and digital everywhere. That's why cyberspace we have mentioned. These are the problems that the honest CV or the clean exit company is solving. Fake resumes are addressed, exit on short notice. This is another problem. They do literally shopping, job shopping. While they are in one job, he'll go to the next company and say, okay, my company is giving this much, will you give me this much, I'll come. And then with that offer letter, he goes to the third company and asks for this much, and then comes back to his own company or her own company saying, look, I've got this offer, will you give me double my salary, then I will stay put. Now, how do you benchmark the salaries then? If this is the way someone is behaving, that's where we have to initiate this thought process very seriously. Violating company policies, definitely, because ethics is generally the code of conduct is there in almost all the companies. Some of the companies have some trainings and certifications also. But when you do it internally, it's taken as a routine. Where when some other organization, like say Clean Exit is doing it, the audit, Clean Exit is doing the training, Clean Exit is doing the training and certification. Also, because AICT is involved, there is a semblance of seriousness that comes in. Stealing company database, I've already discussed. Harassing fellow employees, this is very, very important part. Juniors as well as seniors, and that includes POSH, the sexual harassment at workplace part also. And trust me, the implications are very serious. Branding of the company takes a hit immediately, and for no reason or no rhyme, no contribution from the management, no contribution from the company side. You are in the news for the wrong reasons, and it takes a big hit. And there is this. I have known one company. I was advising a company, aviation company, small aviation company. One sexual harassment case, and all the employees were called to the police station almost for 10-12 days for investigation. And in that 12-15 days, no sales happened. Smaller company, obviously it went bust, and the aircraft are parked idling. Till today, they are idling. It can happen. Serious implications. Fake training fields I've discussed. Refusing to return company. Yes, this is another major problem. I get a laptop when Satya is hiring me, and he gives me a laptop for my work to be done for him, for the company, and I run away with the laptop. I don't give him, and he keeps sending mails, but he doesn't have time. Trust me, he just started a company, and he has trusted me with the laptop, and all that the startup has is my laptop, and I'm running away with one data and two laptop, and I don't want to give. Does he have manpower to chase me with legal action? Does he have time to chase me? Does he have energy to chase me? Money to chase me? No, it doesn't. And he won't. He just leaves it. Unfortunately, it's gone. And for a startup which is bootstrapped, one laptop loss is company closure. That's as simple as that. So what we have done, a fidelity guarantee against me. That means Satya, once when he employs me, I'm coming with a guarantee. Like my father used to earlier days, the fathers or parents used to say, he's my son, I guarantee his good conduct. That's how they used to employ earlier. Similarly, there is a fidelity guarantee by a public sector insurance company, especially in the Indian context, because insurance policies are different in different countries. I'm not talking about the global situation now. I'm talking about Indian situation where there is a fidelity guarantee. If I don't return my laptop, Satya's company will get the cost of the laptop from the insurer. This is the kind of guarantee that we are giving, fidelity guarantee that we are giving from the clean exit. So refusing to return. No, second part is the so I'm stealing very precious data also, not only the laptop. Laptop cost of insurer will give. How will he retrieve the data? That is where the process of rating the employee comes into play. I'll tell you an example. There was one chef in a five-star hotel. He wanted a certain percentage of hike just before Deepavali. He tried to bargain with HR. HR said, "Look, this year I will not be able to give this much. Let us do this much now, and after 6 months, I'll revise. We'll sit and do the appraisal." He kept quiet. He didn't say anything. One day before Deepavali, he goes on leave, and along with him, he takes 7-8 people on leave. Good cooks. Now, what happens? It's a five-star property, and talk of block booking of people, and the hotel management had to go through hell to hire at an exorbitant price on part-time basis. That you come and cook for this meal, you come and cook for this meal, only as a help and paying very heavy. So they came to this, and then we talked to that guy, and we said, "Look, there's a problem." He said, "No, sir, I'm getting a job elsewhere." Fine, you're getting a job. So we, without hinting at the name and other things, we generally dropped a message. So because you're not naming him, we are not shaming him in any case. There is no attack on individual. So we said a person with this much of experience has left this company with this is the scenario in which he has left. So they knew that, so, and he had to come and apologize. Then, of course, thing was done. So posting negatively in social media, big problem, very big problem. One company, the sales manager expected his deputy to give a small presentation in time. The guy said, "Yeah, I'll give you. Don't worry, sir." Because the sales manager said, "I have 3, 4 things to handle. I'm slightly caught up. Please help me with this presentation. 4 slides I need, not more than that. Day after tomorrow I need." He said, "No problem." Day after tomorrow came. The sales manager asked his assistant manager at that presentation. He said, "What presentation, man?" And I told you 3 days back. He said, "But that's not my responsibility. It's your area." He said, "But that day you didn't tell me." So he said, "No, but I have told you that I need your help. Obviously, you could have told me at that time only that you are not going to do it." And then there's a little tete-a-tete. So there's an exchange of words. And he raised his voice. And when he raised his voice, that guy recorded. And he threatened him that he will do it. He said, "Okay, no problem." He took the management confidence and said, "This is what has happened. I have not done anything wrong. This is the actual case." Now, next thing that happens is, for about next 3 months, there were no responses for his mails, the sales manager's mails that were going to the clients. No responses. And after 3 months, someone called him up and said, "Yeah, what is this nonsense happening?" He said, "Why? What happened?" "No, all of us are getting mails that you are from the third sex." I mean, in some context, they are talking about many multiple genders, but at least let us limit it to only three. You are from the third sex. Those mails are coming to all of us. He said, "Who is sending?" That guy who has left, he is sending. So no, such situations. Just imagine he is sending mailers like this. It can dent. Not that the third gender is not to be interacted or any negativity as far as I'm concerned. Apologies for people if they look at it like that. No, I'm saying the action that has actually happened. Okay, the Honest CV campaign we're running with the All India Council for Technical Education to create professionally ethical workforce in India. And the campaign is free of cost, no charges, no cost. So when you next hire someone, please ask, are you trained and certified as per the AICTE expected norms for the creation of ethical workforce? Sign up, commit for Honest CV, and get online training and give the Honest CV assessment. Commit yourself and get a badge and other benefits. Commit yourself to being honest at workplace. This is all required. And if you wish to have a certification, you wish to have a fidelity guarantee, which will give confidence to the employer when you go to the employer, saying that, are you, if you are an employer and you are taking people, you can ask him, "Okay, how about fidelity guarantee, because you're coming fresh. I don't know whether you will we will see you lasting for long, or you are at the very beginning only we must get it's very clear." That's how it can be. And this is what is contact details, the coordinates, in case if anyone wishes to contact. We have training modules for 2 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours, 16 hours for professional ethics at workplace. And we will be able to deliver. Of course, those cost a little money. Okay, not much. But this training for the students is free of cost from through the AICT portal. Our MOU is there on the All India Council for Technical Education, Government of India's web portal. The certification can be gotten through AICTE also. That's all I have. If anyone has any question, I'm ready to answer. I'll be very happy to respond to the questions you have.
Sure, sure. Yes, sir, we have. Thank you so much for sharing such valuable insights on employee engagement, and thank you for the presentation.
Thank you
So
very
the
much.
question, so we have a
Yeah.
question from you, and it is: how can professionals effectively balance personal values and organizational goals in technology-driven multicultural workplaces to maintain ethical integrity and ensure career sustainability?
Thank you. Very, very important question. See, values always will flow into our workspace. It's not that they are like I'm at home and I wear a different cloth when I go to the office, so my values are left at home, and they're different value sets that come into play. But the ethical practices are not belief based only, not faith based only, not value based only. They are a set of code of conduct, and those codes of conduct is generally laid down by the companies. The companies take a lot of pain in creating the code of conduct. In addition, what we are expected to, show our own due diligence. Am I indulging in conflict of interest? Am I indulging in causing harm? Am I indulging in denting the sustainability? Am I indulging in the SDGs as envisaged in the UN being harmed, like the environment? And these are small little things. The day Satya was talking about, okay, so diversity and equity and inclusion, am I contributing to that? Am I being very harsh to the elders, or age discrimination I'm doing, culture discrimination I'm doing, or I have biases? So many times it can happen. We all come from different cultures, different workplace, I mean different family value systems, but we have to be acceptably behaving. That's exactly what it is, and that gets actually noticed very easily when we are showing equity, and when we're showing diversity. We are respecting the elders, we are respecting the younger ones, we are respecting the different genders, different educational qualifications. If I'm a techie, I should not be looking down upon a non-technical person in a technical company, or if I'm a professor, I should not be looking down on a non-academic staff. Everyone is important for all of us. I mean, it's an organization is made up of different sets of people performing their roles ably and efficiently and ethically. So all of them are important. It's okay. I mean, a roadside sweeper, if he doesn't perform his duty, it's going to cause a lot of problem for us. It can lead to a lot of diseases, large scale diseases. So his job also is important as my job, as your job. So sustainability comes from there. It's actually ethical conduct leads to sustainability and success. That's how it is noticed, and you get noticed very easily, especially if you're a youngster, a fresher. Being honest, being ethical at workplace, you get really noticed very fast, and then you stand out, that you excel. That's what it is. Skills we can acquire always. Okay, I hope that answers your question.
Sir, one more question, and it is in the context of workplace ethics, ratings, and their importance. How can organizations implement to ensure compliance with ethical while promoting engagement and transparency?
I heard you intermittent, but I'm presuming that you asked about the ethics rating and training and certification, and how it can actually improve the transparency. That's what it is, Purvi?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So organizations can implement in a phased manner. Now, initially, they can have, okay, the freshers, whoever is coming, they can start with them, and the top people can commit themselves to being ethical, and then have some training sessions in general, so that all are brought onto the same platform of talking about an ethical culture being created. That's very, very important. Create that culture of ethics. That's how it should start. And of course, the fidelity guarantee can be given. See, there are some companies, what they do, they will for example, I have a company, I have 20 people, and out of that 18 people are more than 1 year, and they have been good to me, they have contributed to my growth. So what I do, okay, I'm giving a bonus to you, I'm taking fidelity guarantee on you. So it's finally going to benefit me only. It's an assurance. Two things happen. One, when I have a fidelity guarantee against me, if I do something wrong, I will be paying for it, although insurance pays, but there is a black spot on my career, my growth. So I will be careful. Two, obviously, an employer will get the compensation for the loss. So it enhances the confidence from the employee to the employer and employer to the employee. So for the people who are more than 1 year, this is how we recommend. We say, okay, if you find that guys are good during the appraisal, you tell him, madam, you have been very nice. Last 1 year, you have contributed well to the company. I am taking a fidelity guarantee on your name for your benefit only, for 5 lakhs, 10 lakhs, 15 lakhs, depending on the exposure that one may have. So that is one way of giving the fidelity guarantee. Training is a culture building is a constant process. It takes time and you have to maintain that standard. So training and annual certification possibly should be there. Audits, very, very important. Also, especially you talked about companies which are medium and small, I thought. So they don't have specific committees to deal with the ethics and other aspects. Get a company which is an expert, an outsider. There is a third party validation that is happening on your own processes for audit, on your own processes if there is any complaint that is there. Many companies don't have the people for internal complaints committee to be dealing with posh matters and all that. We give that also. When you have a third party, obviously the credibility of the whole process is much more, and it adds to the reputation of the company. Similarly, social media presence, and we talk to them often, maybe once in 3 months or something like that, to be careful in the social media. What all things can go wrong by being a little casual in posting or retweeting or following. Even sometimes following also can be viewed negatively, because if a certain idiosyncrasies are being endorsed, then it can lead to certain problems. So that is how we recommend to the companies to start slow, start with the freshers, and then move towards the higher levels. Okay.
Thank you so much, sir. Once again, thanks a lot for your amazing insights and for answering all our questions so wonderfully. No doubt it's been a very inspiring program. We have explored important aspects for GCCs and professional ethics at workplace. A huge thank you to our incredible speakers for sharing their expertise and insights. We are grateful for your time and the wealth of knowledge you have shared today. Last but not the least, thank you to our wonderful audience for joining us and contributing with your questions and enthusiasm. We hope you leave with actionable strategies and fresh perspectives. Be sure to connect with us and our speakers on social media platforms website to continue the conversation, and don't forget to mark your calendars for the next event where we will dive even deeper into the transformations going on in GCCs and strategic outsourcing. Until next time, this is Purvi signing off. Stay inspired and keep driving change. Thank you.
Thank you, Purvi, and thank you all very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.